Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to the virtual lounge of the Single Women's Society. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I am your host and dating coach, Kat Cantrell. Welcome to the show. I invite you to come on in. Let's get cozy. Let's get all super cozy. I'm wearing my sweater. It's actually pretty warm out today, but I know it's going to get cold. It's going to get cold soon enough. But come on in, grab something cozy to snuggle up in, grab your drink of choice, and we're going to have a heart to heart today. Maybe I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. I'm a little frustrated, and I thought I would use this episode to vent a little bit of my frustration as a dating coach. And hopefully my goal is that you take some little nugget, some little tidbit of today to hopefully open up your eyes when it comes to seeking your potential partner. But before I go into all of that, I do have an announcement. So, Game for Love, my live dating game show, the date has been moved. We have decided to move it to March, the month of love. That's February, isn't it? But the season, spring, why not? So we're going to move Game for Love to March 12th, 2022. So if you've been listening to this and you're like, I wonder if I should be an applicant. I wonder if I should be a contestant. Yes. This is your sign. So please, if you want to apply to be a contestant on Game for Love, you want to go to theheartagency.com and follow the instructions and apply to be on the game show. Okay. I just want to just a little mention about the date change. Okay. So I am bringing this topic for you today because I had a conversation with a potential client, and I want to share this topic with you, and share with you my insight and my perspective when it comes to helping women find their partner. Now, I know that a lot of you have been through a lot. Previous relationships, previous marriages, and every time we go through a relationship that doesn't work, we say to ourselves, okay, well, I know that this is what I want and this is what I don't want. I know that a lot of women, a lot of you have rebuilt your lives to the point where you don't want to just let anybody in. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should never settle. And if you haven't listened to my episode about the difference between picky and not settling, you need to go listen to that, because probably mostly this episode is kind of piggybacking off of that one. So when you're out there and you're seeking someone, I know you're not just going to let anybody in your life, because you've worked super hard to have what you have, to allow someone in to potentially disrupt it. I've been there. I know exactly what that feels like. But I want to talk about when you are seeking someone and what that looks like as far as your checklist. And I know I've done episodes about your type. I've done episodes about your checklist. You know how I feel about checklists, but I want to explain a little bit to you why the checklist. There's a difference between having the checklist to the point where you're not letting anyone in, and having a checklist where you're being particular of who you're letting in. Now, when we have a checklist that's so, I don't even know how to say it, not outrageous, that's not the right word. When we have a checklist that's so particular, this is a form of self-sabotage. This is a way that you are protecting yourself. This is a way that you are putting a gigantic wall in front of you, because you are setting unrealistic expectations of who you are seeking. Now, this is what I'm talking about. I know that there's the whole thing about women being like, well, a man has to be over 6 feet. Okay. So why does a man have to be over 6 feet? Or why does a man have to be 6 feet? And you may justify it however you want to justify it, But when a woman tells me that he must be 6 feet or taller, there's a reason why that is there. There's a reason why that exists. Now, when you have a checklist that says must have a certain level of education, and I'm not talking about just like a college degree. I'm talking about women who say they must have a master's or they must have a PhD. And when women say, I prefer, that's meaning that tells me, yes, they must be this. So when you have a checklist that says they must have this higher level of education, they must be within this little tiny age range of a 5-year age range. They must, uh, they must have a certain physique. They must be vegan, vegetarian. They must do you see how when you're to find someone who has a master's, who's over 6 feet, who's within a 5-year age range, who's single, by the way, and available, who has a certain physique, who has a certain diet, you can see how you're purposely, these are all of what's on your checklist, you're purposely setting yourself up to not find someone. Because to have someone be able to mark off all of those boxes on your list is almost impossible. If you can go through this checklist and say, okay, what are my absolute 100% non negotiables here? And if you can go through this checklist and say to yourself, why must they be over 6 feet? Why must they have a master's degree? Why must they have a certain physique? Why must they be in the certain age range? And to boot, they must live in your city, right? So there's these items that are on your checklist. You are purposely setting yourself up so that you are not able to find anyone. Now, am I telling you to settle? No. But if your checklist is so particular to the point that there is no wiggle room, you are never going to be able to find someone to figure out whether or not there is a connection. You're never going to know their values. You're never going to understand. You're never going to get to know them to where you know their values, be able to know their sense of humor, to be able to discover whether or not their characteristics is something that you admire. What are their interests? Because nobody can get in. Nobody can get in that wall because you have set such unrealistic expectations when it comes to your checklist. And if you are trying to seek perfection in someone, I want to remind you, you are not perfect either. We all have flaws. And when we are so particular about a checklist, that tells me that you are not open and you are not available for love. You're not. No matter how you, no matter, I get it. If you are super picky and this is what you want, then that's what you want. Okay. But myself, I thought that these were all the things that I wanted. But at the end of the day, those things do not matter because if their values are in check, if they have a great sense of humor, if they have whatever values and characteristics that you're looking for in someone, at the end of the day, that is the stuff that matters. And if there is just one thing that piques your interest about this person, you should pursue that. But you'll never even be able to get it because they can't even pass by your wall of all of your checks. What happens if they're 6 feet and they have a high school diploma? You're going to be like, nope. What happens if they're 6 feet and they're not a vegan? You're going to be like, nope. What if they're 5'9" and they have a PhD? You're going to be like, nope. Can you see how this literally is setting you up for failure? And you wonder to yourself, why can I not find love? It's because you refuse to open up to it. You refuse to allow other people in. You are so convinced that you know what you're looking for. And if you feel that all of these items on your checklist are an absolute non negotiable, then I can't help you. And love most likely won't find its way because love wants you to seek out people for connection, to seek out people who are truly, who are there to compliment you. There are so many things that we can learn from the person from the other side of the table that we would have never been able to learn if we're not being able to open ourselves up to new types of people to allow into our lives. And when it comes to dating, you just need to figure out what your non negotiables are. Like, what are those? If your non negotiable is that they have to be 6 feet, then to me, you need to figure out why that is. Why is that? If your non negotiable is that they have to be a vegetarian or vegan, why is that? I understand if that's your lifestyle, but don't you think that there could be a compromise in there somewhere? So don't you think if everything else like played out that maybe that you'd be able to make a compromise and the two of you can have a compromise? To me, just with you, when you're having all of these items on your checklist, you are narrowing it down and you're making it impossible for love to find you because you are so convinced that you know your type and you know exactly what you're looking for. Just because they have all these things on there that are marking off on your checklist does not mean they're going to be a good person. It does not mean that they're going to be the right person for you. Doesn't. So what do? You figure out the things that are really important to you. Because believe it or not, you're going to be surprised and I can hear you. You're like, well, "What about chemistry? I know what I'm attracted to." Yeah, of course. Of course you do. But if you're not giving other people an opportunity to even come into your life to where you have an opportunity to like sit down with them across the table and get to know them, how would you ever know? How would you ever know? You're not even going to give them the time of day. And they may look good, great on paper, but when you meet them in person, they could completely lack personality. So I just want you to figure out and explore why you have such a firm checklist. And if it's because you know exactly what you want, you know exactly what you're looking for, then okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's going to be difficult to find someone to mark off all of those checks. And I want you to figure out what checks of those can be negotiables, that can be compromises. There's probably more there than you think. And I've met a lot of people who are over 6 feet who are not worth dating. So just think about it and really look at your list and say to yourself, okay, which one of these can I negotiate on? And if you're saying prefer, and you have to have everything on that list, figure out why. Why do you have to have all these things on your list? And if it's based off of a previous relationship, meaning, well, my previous relationship, they only had a bachelor's and we really didn't have much in common or blah, blah, blah. And I want to have something in common and I'm an intellectual and I want to make sure that they're an intellectual. There's lots of intellectuals that don't go to college, by the way. Unless you want to have that common interest to where you both can talk about college, I guess if that's important to you. But if you're an intellectual, there are lots of intellectuals that haven't had the means to be able to pursue college. But you won't even give them the time of day. You won't even allow this person in because you're so focused on, nope, must have these things, prefer these things, right? So I just challenge you. That's my little bit of a frustration today because I just when women come to me and they're like, I must have all these things, I can't help you. I can't. Because that to me is not telling me that you're open, that you're not flexible, that you're not available to meet other people that could be interesting and possibly could be a match for you. Opposites don't attract either. I mean, they say opposites attract, but that's bad too. I don't believe in that either. You have to have similarities when it comes to the important core things in life. But seeking out a person to make sure that they have a six pack or they have to be, I mean, I really just want you to think about all of that because I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. And so I certainly wasn't seeking out someone else who was going to be perfect because I'm not perfect. They're going to have to embrace my differences. They're going to have to embrace my craziness. They're going to have to embrace the things that are different, different about me because I'm not perfect. So I certainly wouldn't expect that from someone else. So there you go. There's my little rant for today. So, okay, that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to give you some food for thought. And I just want you to really think about what's on that list and if it's absolutely necessary. And if you're the type of person that says this is what it must be, then that's what it must be. But I just want you to think about it a little bit more and to really think about what really matters to you. What really, really matters to you. And if you're looking for superficial things, then you're not seeking connection. You're just not. You're just looking for what it looks like on the outside. And that's just the honest goodness truth. Okay. All right, my love. That is all I have for you today. So if you're watching on YouTube, hi. I'm so happy you're here. Please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and click the bell so that every time an episode is uploaded that you are the first to know. If you are listening on Spotify and Apple, thank you so much. Please make sure and subscribe and rate and review this episode because I always still love to hear what you have to say. And if you are on social media, come and follow me at Kat Cantrell, both on Facebook and on Instagram. I do have a very exciting announcement coming soon. I'm not going to announce it for a little bit, but I do have another thing that's in the works and I cannot wait to share it with all of you. And as always, if you want to know more information about my services, you can always go to theheartagency.com or you can go to singlewomensociety.com. All right, my love, take it easy. Don't be so strict. Let things go a little bit. Relax. This is love. It's not supposed to be so serious. It's not supposed to be mechanical. Not supposed to be a business transaction. This is love. We want connection. So take it easy, okay? All right. And remember, true love is waiting for you. And I will see you next time. All right.